so let's do the introduction, guys. Feya, you're the first on my screen, and then obviously Katana Girls, you guys can go, and then Kane. You guys don't mind me calling you Katana Girls, right?
Yeah, you could call me my name.
Oh, probably. Well, I have to address both.
Carry him again. I was about to say, yeah.
What are your names? Sorry.
This guy's.
Hope.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm Miliana, and this is Hope. But you can call me Millie. Millie and Hope.
Millie and Hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's fine. But I did ask. You know what I'm saying? I was polite. If you want to go into, if you want to introduce yourself, sort of name, aim, occupation, race as well. So what sort of your black background is, and when you found out you was black.
My name's Feya. I study fashion marketing at the University of Manchester. My heritage is Jamaican, but I'm like Black British, and I run a page called Blackinfashion, which focuses on uplifting young Black people in the North in the fashion industry.
So when did you find out you was black?
Honestly, I've always known that I was black, if I'm being honest. Do you mean like when my first kind of
realization was that you was a black person in this country, sort of thing?
More so, I guess, in high school, because I went to a predominantly white high school. But before that, like, I grew up in like a black church and stuff like that. So I have a black family. It wasn't really a question. It's just how I was. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Arno. I'm 25. I'm of Ghanaian descent. Not only am I your host today, but I also help run Phlex Presents. Phlex Presents is an entertainment company that aim is to provide entertaining, creative content alongside the help of musicians, entertainers and artists alike. Basically form a community, not only within the internet presence, but within the city of Manchester. Our aim is to merge the lines of style, music, and what we like to call as flair. So flair can be anything from food to sort of comedy, poetry, dance, anything that is sort of related to hip hop culture. We basically want to blur the lines of that and to create a buzz within the city so we can be discoverable on a national level, sort of bring some attention and put the spotlight on Manchester, and we sort of want to flagship that movement within the city.
Hi, so we are the Katanas. I'm Millie and this is Hope. We're musicians, we make music from the soul, and we try to put our pain into our music always, and unfortunately some of that our racial pain. The first time I really consciously remember of realizing that I was, well, some people would say biracial, but I like to refer to myself as black. I know that's controversial, but is what it is. Was when I was about 6 years old, and I was playing. Me and my sister were both playing out, and we got called niggers. We grew up in a very white area. There wasn't anyone that looked like us around. There was maybe like 3 or 4 Asian people in where we lived. There was one other black person, and so we realized from a very early age that we were clearly different to everybody else we saw around us, and we were treated that way throughout our schooling life. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, could you guys want to talk a little bit more about your music?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I think we started making music basically to help with some pain and stuff. We've always been that way. If you've listened to our music, then you know what I'm talking about. And I think it's been what we've always been really good at in life, and we've always focused on it and worked really hard so that we're not mediocre. And that we do, like, as you said before, we have black voices and we can proper sing, I think. The difference, and we've really tried hard to do that, and we try to, with our music, represent, and we write songs about our hardships and racism, and you know, it's all encompassing, really. It is. We're proud of it.
Yeah, thanks guys. Kane?
Yo. Yeah, I'm Kane. I do management. I work with, like, I'm very that power at the same time.
Can everyone else see Kane still, or is he
No,
just?
I think.
Oh, bloody hell! What a time to leave. You see that wall behind you?
Yeah.
What is on it? It looks like a shrine of some sort.
Oh, this is our little studio room, but.
Ooh.
Oh, what
all
is it
magazines.
comprised of? What are those pictures?
They're all from magazines, and they're all people of colour. But we tried to. The thing was, what I didn't realise, you know a bit more about this than me, but when I don't really buy glossy magazines, but when I went through these magazines and tried to rip out people of colour, there wasn't very many in any of the magazines I had. So I tried my hardest to only include like people of colour, but it was quite hard.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Why is that?
Why is that, Feya? Do you think?
Because there's so much racism within the fashion industry. And when it comes to models, they'll have these token models. So they'll have models who, you know, that will always appear on the covers. So you have like Adota Catch, you know, Ducky Thought, other people too I can't think of. But they'll just pick those same 5 models, literally. And then they won't have any other models have any opportunities that like basically white models get. And even like models of color, like Asian models, they don't get any opportunities either. Like, there's so much racism.
It's like, I don't buy magazines, so I understand that there's my housemate works in the fashion industry and she talks about it a lot. But when just seeing it on page to page and like trying to find people of color and not being able to, it's really like disheartening. It's disheartening and it's wild when it. But do you feel that in the industry, do you ever feel marginalised?
Yeah, 100%. Like, because I'm still at university, so I'm going into my final year, and even within that, there's only like 4 Black people within the whole entire course, and we all do like different kind of modules. So I do fashion marketing, somebody does like buying and merchandising or manage fashion management, and like we're completely marginalised. I have to complain to my university like about how Black students are being treated. It's like we have to constantly fight.
Can you explain a bit more about that? Because I never went to university. I never did any of that, but I'd love to experience.
So I've had to go on. I went on an internship this year for like a year in the industry. So it's really recommended within fashion to do that. So it's like it makes your credentials higher. So we obviously know like Black people are less likely to be hired for jobs. Like there's genuine facts about that. So a lot of my friends did not get any placements or internships, even though their CVs were amazing. I went like compared to anybody else's, like the CVs stuff that they've done is like insane. And so I spoke to my lecturers and I was like, there actually is, you know, there's inequalities within the application system. So when you apply, you've got to put, you know, your Black, British or Caribbean background. And even from that, they can say no. Like, there's just loads of small tricks and stuff like that. The university are just like, well, we give everybody the same opportunity. I don't know.
It just falls back into the system and the systematic racism that we face. Shall we get into the first topic, which is obviously is describing your Black experience, the positive or negative. Obviously, we've got a plethora of Black people here. I think the only thing we're missing is a Black member that is not part of the LGBTQ club, unless
I'm bisexual.
Okay, there we go.
Yes,
We've ticked our boxes. There you go. So yeah, we've got clear representation for Black people here. So yeah, okay, Feya, do you want to kick it off? How would you describe your UK Black experience?
It's been a whirlwind, definitely. I'd say in my earlier years, like high school was definitely difficult. Like I was the only Black girl in my form. I went to like a grammar school, so it was white middle class people, who definitely tried to bully me. But I think I'm difficult to bully in the fact that I've got a kind of hard exterior, so I never really showed my true emotions. But during that time, about 8 years, obviously it really affected me subconsciously. So it all kind of came out at later years. But going to university, finding obviously my Black friendship group, joining like, I didn't join ACS, but attending ACS events and stuff like that, made university a lot easier for me. And finding people who kind of went through the same things, and even through Twitter and like Instagram, reaching out to people through those social media apps as well has really helped me. So it's been bittersweet, I'd say.
Okay. What about you girls?
I'd say that my Black experience, I think because we are mixed race, it's slightly different because I think mixed race people have a different journey than Black people in a different way, in the way that we're not anything. And I think I had to come to kind of terms with that really early in life, that I wasn't white and also I wasn't Black to some people either. So I think it's about really deciding who you are as a mixed race person and what side you actually are on, which I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is true. And I do identify myself as a Black person, and it's been really difficult. I mean, like, some of my earliest memories of being told to get back on a slave ship, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it is difficult, but also as a mixed race person, I struggle, and so do you, with colorism, because I know that, like, even though me and Millie are really talented and we've worked really hard, I know that a lot of the time that we're blocking blessings from people who are Black women, especially, and that can sing, can dance. And I feel like in this world, if you're a Black woman, unless you can sing, dance, you're a triple threat. Sorry, Kelly and Michelle, but unless you're Beyonce, then it's not good enough. Whereas white people can be mediocre, mixed race people can be mediocre, and Black people just have to be singing, dancing, acting the best. And I think it's horrible. It's a very strange world to live in as a mixed race person, I think, sometimes. For me, I've found it difficult. Like, when I don't look like this and I go to the shop in a tracksuit, I always get followed around. We live in central London. Whenever I shop in central London, I'm always getting followed about. It's not something that goes away. It's like the minuscule isms of it that are really painful for me. I haven't been called a nigger in a long time now, for quite some years, but I still feel those micro aggressions, racist aggressions on a daily basis. And like Hope said, I feel like mixed race people are like comfortable Black people that white people can deal with, and that's why we're represented in music and entertainment and film. And so that's really hard, because I think if I was probably any darker skinned, I don't know whether I'd even. It's been really hard to get here, but get here, I don't know if I was any darker skinned whether it would have even been possible. Yeah. And that's because of the doors that close in a lot of Black women especially faces. So it's been an interesting, difficult whirlwind of an experience, to be honest.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like, something really resonated when you said with the Black people that white people can deal with. Because I've never, obviously, I don't think, when I think about being Black, I don't think about the mixed race experience. But obviously,
that's okay. Yeah.
That thing, that actually touched somewhere, because I thought, I can see how that makes sense, sort of.
Digestible Blackness, for sure.
I feel like when you're mixed race, you've got a choice of going either way.
Yeah, you can be either one.
Why is there not an in between?
Because it's non-existent. I tell you now, it's a fine line, because I experienced racism from white people my whole life, and then I went to live in Atlanta for a few years, and Black people would tell me I couldn't have been white, I couldn't be Black, I must be white, I'm too pale to be Black. And my dad didn't love my mum enough because I came out too white. That's what an Uber driver told me one day. Yeah, serious. Uber driver told us one day. Said, "Where are you from?" Said, "From England." He said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from, my dad's Kenyan, my mum's white." And he said, "Well, your dad mustn't love your mum because you came out white."
That's crazy.
I don't know what kind of logic that was, but quite different. It's quite difficult. I think a lot of people feel like they have to choose a side and have to find somewhere that they sit. For me, anyway, because it's so uncomfortable, the mixed race experience a lot of the time. And sometimes, like even this whole Black Lives Matter situation, I've been going to marches for years, but I've been on Facebook and seeing some of the things that white people I know are saying, and it's unbelievable. And what they say to me is, "You're all right."
Oh my God.
What does that mean? I'm okay, she's okay.
Because we're watered down.
We're watered down. We're not a full. I don't even. It sounds like I don't like myself, and I truly do appreciate everything that I am. But it is difficult to explain, and I'm not trying to take away from the fully Black experience, because that's what I'm here to fight for. I'm just saying this is my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Isn't that? Oh, hey, Bipolar. Thank you guys for your.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Bipolar. How are you doing? Nice to see you. To see you. Nice. Sorry, we was cracking on without you. It's my bad for getting the time zones mixed up. Obviously, the math.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all
9
good.
plus 10 is clearly 21 over this side. You know what I mean? So yeah, you've missed the quiz that everyone enjoyed. Everyone enjoyed the quiz.
Don't gas yourself too much, you know. Cool out.
And we just done the intros. So if you want to just interject real quick, introduce yourself, give your name, your occupation, and when you first discovered that you was Black.
Oh, so.
Oh yeah, and your background as well. That's very important.
Oh, so background is Jamaican. Grandma came here on the Windrush with my granddad. They met in Nottingham when one was 18, 19, working on the buses. And then they moved over to Manchester when I was born. Go by the name of Adeo. Most people know me as that. Bipolarsunshine is the artist name. After that, we're talking about like when's the first time I realized I was Black.
Yeah. So when was the first time you was a Black man in a white man's world, so to speak?
I think I probably realized that when I was about 5 or 6, and when I was in school, and I went to a school in Disbury called Broad Oak, and one of the other kids was like, oh, something about like the teachers. I can't remember the teacher or someone saying like, yeah, he's fast. They're fast, and I was like, they're fast. You know, like this like stigma of like Blacks just.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You know, and I was like, I didn't quite understand it until later on in life. Then I realized, oh, so that was like the first like separating me, that I'm known for the thing that I will be known for if I'm an athlete, you know, if I'm the fast guy. And he's like, oh, he's the fast guy. And I was like, I wasn't even fast. I ain't even ran anywhere yet. I ain't started in the school. And I couldn't understand who thought I was this person. And I was like, that one was like one of those ones that kind of shocked me in that way. And then I think the second time, there's been quite a few occasions. Probably the one where like got me the most is I knew about racism. I knew what was really going on. As when I got stopped and searched in the Arndale, and I had me up against HMV, my hands up in the air, like, and I was like, for something that they thought I had done. And I had literally just come off the bus out of Piccadilly Gardens and literally was just walking straight through. And it was like, you come here. And I was like, me come here? Like, confused, like, didn't have nothing, couldn't understand what this whole thing was going on. Next minute, pushed me up against the side and standing up with my hands in the air outside of HMV. And they were like, just searching me down, like, you can go, son. I was like, go for what? or we just thought we got a radio through someone fitting your description.
Oh, them ones.
Oh, yeah.
Them ones.
And I was like, I just
Yeah.
started walking with my day, and I was, it just put my whole mind up, just like, and then from there, I just felt like it was just like it's a constant battle of like trying to remain sane and trying to not say, yo, these guys are always about something when you know they are, but everyone wants to try and tell you that they're not. But it's like you can look into someone's eyes and you can see what they're about when they look at you, and you can see it. You don't even need to like ask them the questions, just like it's there, you know what I mean? So that's where I was at.
Thank you. Kane, your Black experience. Positive and negative.
Did you get me before? Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because I cut off on you, didn't I?
Oh yeah. Nah, we didn't hear anything. You just disappeared for a sec.
Right. Well, I'm Kane. I run a company on the side called Eyesonthepies. It does black-led events. It tries to tell the history of like black music in the UK and that. But on the side from that, I do artist management, so I work with quite a few different artists, mainly Meeks from Manchester and Just Banco. But the first times I knew I was black, is that what I'm on? Yeah.
Yes.
The first time I knew I was black was probably I went to a primary school in Stretford, Moss Park. There was only about 8 black people in the whole school, and so it was always apparent that I was black, literally, like nothing more, nothing less. But weirdly, my stepdad's white, and that's who I consider to be my actual dad. So my whole life, I never really seen colour until kids made it a thing to me that like colour was there and I was black and all that type of stuff. But to me, it didn't. It was never really a thing prior to that.
It seems as though the consensus is that we all experienced our first instance of our black experience in the education system.
Yeah.
And surely kids are not born racist, so they're clearly learning this stuff from somewhere. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It sort of just goes to show from an early age that we've been growing up in this prejudice culture. That is something that we've had to learn and sort of navigate round. It's really interesting hearing your testimonies. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, do you feel like black people are represented in your industry? So Feya, sorry. Do you want to go first, and we'll work it in like that, and then we can open it up to a discussion after this.
So with fashion, black people are kind of more looked at like a spectacle. So we're kind of admired, often copied a lot. When it actually comes to hiring us for jobs or seeing us in the actual top positions, such as like, let's say Vogue. I don't know if anyone's heard about Anna Wintour and Andre Leon. You know what's happened? So stuff like that, kind of, is that we're just kind of held closely but never really respected. So if we're represented in fashion, I'd have to say, no, not properly. Like, not at all.
Okay. Why do you think that is? Because
of racism, for definite, but also for fashion, like, you need black people. Like, the copy off of us so much. I can't even explain. Like,
when you say copy, sorry, in the fashion industry, what the people that don't know, what does that mean?
So you can have like a designer who's done a specific design, and you'll literally see a white designer copy it or a non-black designer copy it. Or a really like common trend is you look at women from the hood in America, or let's say women from Jamaica, and you'll kind of have like really amazing style. They'll do different stuff with their hair and the makeup, and then you'll see fashion people kind of look down on it, but then you also see it on like the front page of Vogue on a white person.
Okay.
So it's like they like our aesthetic, but they'll never ever put it on a black person.
So sorry, just to throw a spanner in the works. So you know, like the whole, obviously it was quite a while ago, but I saw that, like, you know, the box braid box braid trend would that be a part and parcel of what you're talking about?
Yeah, cultural appropriation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So right. Yeah, I understand now. Kane, do you want to step up to the plate?
It's I don't know. It's a weird one now because I'd love to say no with bass, but then there is a lot of black guys in offices and working at labels and that. But then it's not equal. But then I guess we're not equal demographically in the country for it to weigh out like that. Obviously, I'm very like I don't sit in the middle, and I never want to claim that I do. But I always look at things with total logic in it. So to me, like, if I go to Virgin, there's a couple of black kids that work there. If I go Sony, there's a couple of black kids that work there. Like, I can't just start saying, oh, no, there's no representation of us, because there is at a small level. Like, it may not be massive, but then, like I say, in England, we're only 8%. Like, in America, I don't know what it's like over there, but there may be more black guys over there, or there might be less, and then they're a bit more of the percentage, so you could look at it differently. But right here, I kind of say, do I feel weird in certain circumstances? And I worked for a label where I was the only black guy, because I worked at a rock and pop label. And yeah, that was weird. I'm not like, there were certain times I did feel like the only black guy in the room, hence the thing that I wrote the other day. But like,
do you want to talk about that? Do you want to speak on that?
Well, so I wrote an article basically led round. It weren't actually something I wanted to do, if I'm totally honest with you. It was because the company that I worked for, I woke up in the morning and it had gone viral for posting about Black Lives Matter and whatnot. And obviously at the time, I had been the only black guy that had worked there, so I kind of did feel the pressure to have to obviously comment on my experiences there and whatnot. And like I said, I spoke with the sort of label in question was Dirty Hit. I spoke with Jamie O'Brien and people prior to it, and said that I was going to speak about my experiences publicly, which I did. And yeah, I just.
Sorry, can you give an example of your experiences?
What do you want? A day?
Yeah, just a scenario. Or... Just let's take us back in time of some of the prejudice or discrimination that you faced, that you actually that you spoke about when you outed these people.
So there was just small things. Obviously, it weren't done on purpose. It weren't done, but it just showed the difference in communities and in society. So there'd be things like when I was managing Just Banco over there, they might say, get Just Banco to do his hair like Kodak Black and get some grills, and then we'll sell more music. Like, but
I'm laughing because it's preposterous. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm laughing because
these are the severe cultural differences, though. In their thought process, that weren't racial. Like, even in my article I wrote, I didn't want to make it seem like someone said that and it was just some outlandish racist comment, because obviously at the same time, I'm not an idiot. Someone could just be racist to my face, and I'm just going to stand there and take it. But that was just a clear not understanding of the culture. To them, that's what they see when they look at Kodak Black. He's got grills and crazy hair, so he sells loads of music. They're not actually thinking the music might have substance that we relate to. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that was where that's where, to me, obviously I'm about like each one teach one, and like at the end of the day, if there's a problem there, you remedy it. Like the same way I had them problems, I spoke personally with Jamie, with Ed, with the whole team at Dirty Hit about how I felt about them situations. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. Million Hope.
I would say we have worked both in the TV industry and in the music industry, both quite similar setups in my opinion. I think the talent is heavily black, but the corporate is the other way. So on a day-to-day, if you look at how many black artists are about and releasing music, of course there's lots.
Let's say mixed race
in this country. But if you look around, there's lots of people doing it. But if you go to the offices, we're really, I would say, quite underrepresented in offices in the UK. I would say, in my opinion, I think you get away with having just a couple black people in the office.
Yeah.
But I think when most of them spend the whole days doing urban campaigns, there should be a lot more, a thicker presence of Black people in all of these establishments. And the thing about working in TV as well was the cast was heavily Black in the show we were in. It was, well, all people of colour, to be honest, but the crew were all white. I never had a Black director. I never had a Black producer. I had Black runners, and that was it. Two Black.
They're pretty low level. Like, if we're talking about
a runner that's not in a power position, we never saw a Black person in a power position. Like we were signed to Sony ATV, and we just finished, and the whole time that we were there was maybe 3 people that I ever met that were Black that worked in that office, you know, over the 4 years that I was there. And for the amount of Black music that they're holding in the catalogue that they have, I mean, Sony, for example, Sony's catalogue is built off Marvin Gaye, Michael Jackson, all these Black artists, yeah, and then you've got no Black representation in your offices. In fact, like, you'd rather get people like, for example, like people that, what really gets my goat is like when white people take on Black music and then they're the next big thing. But then also there's things like Lewis Capaldi. Like, Lewis Capaldi doesn't even brush his hair before he goes on stage. Can you imagine a Black man doing that? Never. It's just not fucking happening for me. I don't think that the Black community, and especially Black women, I'm not talking about mixed race women, I'm talking about Black women, there is no representation in this country. Should be ashamed of it. Absolutely ashamed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. Wow. You guys are raising some things regarding like the whole mixed race experience that I've legitly never thought about. And obviously, guys, I appreciate it definitely. And Bipolar, do you want to talk about your experience within your industry?
Yeah, I think it's as similar as like what Kane and everyone was saying before, is that in the music industry, you do have your quote unquote a certain amount of Black people who may be inside of the offices. Being in some of the offices in America kind of switches, because I'd say the urban word is a lot bigger in America than it is over here. So they do have a lot more people in those positions who deal with that style of music, whereby in the UK the urban term is still very controlled compared to how Americans like and then I think that breeds onto like collaboration.
Can you explain that? When you say control, what exactly do you mean?
I feel like I probably think only of recently that you're getting a lot more Black artists who are able to come to the forefront, as in being seen a lot more, but it's within like one particular style. It's not within like many styles. It's just like, this is the style of the day that we like, and if you guys produce the style of the day, we'll let you through. But if you don't produce the style of the day, then you kind of fall into like alternative. And alternative in the UK is like a cesspit. It's just like
Limbo.
what is a Black alternative artist in the UK? If you don't make like whatever's in at the time. Noticing that from even when I think I had a situation, let's say you take on the Mobos, for example, how that is what is perpetuated of what is Black urban culture, but then you think, but Black urban culture is way bigger than this, than what's being represented. And I always was like, I don't understand how that works. You know what I mean? I can remember sitting next to the woman who done the Mobos, and she was like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh, Bipolarsunshine." And she didn't have a clue who I was. But I was like, "Of course, I haven't really done much for her to really understand." And then when she was doing, and then I can remember my mind going, I definitely see myself winning a Grammy before I even get nominated for a Mobo. And for my mind to even go like that was just like, that's understood the way that the UK sees certain things compared to, like, not saying America sees it in a better way, but it's just the way that the UK sees things. And I definitely think the Black experience and seeing the people in offices and seeing some of the people who are in the offices, are they just playing an agenda of like, I don't really know, I'm just, because I have a boss above me, so I need to make sure that I show my boss above me the things that he only understands, because if I show him this other shit, he ain't gonna understand it. He's got to see like the stereotypical view in order for them to get it. Because if you're only given a certain percentage or a certain understanding of what you see in front of you, that's all you can expect someone to understand, you know what I mean? So it's a case of, we're in a big stage of like, so many things need to be like put out onto the table and then just said exactly how they are, not sugarcoated and being like, you know, I know you're kind of looking at it like Black artists, it's like, but what do you see? I saw made the great analogy the other day. It's like, my brother sent it me, it was when a white girl does the whole big nails, long hair, it's seen as like she's this cool shit. When a Black girl does it, it's seen as ghetto.
Yeah.
Why is it that distinction? Why is that like the cool in thing? Because that's what the majority of Western world is, a white world. So they're only gonna think that that's what it is. And it's not to say that's a wrong thing. That's what it is. We're not a huge. We may take up a lot of the percentage of like regarding music, regarding artistry, but regarding anything else, we're a very low percentage, meaning that we don't have a lot of people in power to make those other decisions and tell someone like, no, that isn't ghetto, that she's just doing the exact same thing as what she's doing. It's the exact same thing. Just take it as music, but it's impossible for people to see it just like that.
Yeah, nah, you've made some decent points, especially when you said that stuff regarding like the mobos, like, and I can obviously you've got quite a diverse, you've had like quite a diverse experience when it came to your career, because you did music here for a while in the UK, and then now you reside in the US, right?
Yeah. I'm just in LA right now, yeah.
Is that because you didn't necessarily fit into a box in the UK at the time?
You know, it was one of those situations that like, I was signed to Polydor, and for some reason, like when you got to the label, and I think Kane will understand this as well, when you move to a label and then they do a little shift around and like, oh, the person that you thought was looking after your project isn't, and the person you thought was doing marketing isn't, and the person you thought was doing video isn't. Here's this new set of people, and you're like, all right, cool. When we had the conversation, these people weren't discussed, so now you switched it whilst you signed, and you can't do nothing about that because you're in it, so you can't opt out of it. You signed, you're in it. So from that whole sense of like releasing records and doing whatever, we got to the point where we were moving on to what was coming out to a single called Daydreamer, which BBC had taken on and was liking. And it was like, you know, the talk of like, this song needs to like break through and be the top, you know, get into the top 20 hits type of. And I was like, okay, if we're moving up into that, I took it upon myself to write a semi-dossier for what everyone who's working on my project should be doing. And from doing that, put everyone's back against the wall, that like, you're the artist, why are you telling them how to spend money in marketing? How are you telling us to, you know, people got offended. I could sense like, I was like, oh snap, I thought we were in this together. Like, I understand what, it's like people get offended when you actually understand further than what they expect you to understand.
Definitely, they always underestimate. So
when you're underestimated, and then when you show like, no, I do understand what that percentage means, what that means, and and I'll explain it to you. It's like, this is a bit. It was like this, the artist, the happy dude. I was like, all right, cool. went in to meet the main guy, I explained it to him, and he was like saying, you know, I don't think the way that you've, I don't think everyone's understanding what it was. And 2 weeks later, they called me and were like, I don't think we're going to be able to work together, you know, going to have to move you off the label. So all my friends were like, oh, snap, like, you just got dropped just like that. And I was like, right. So that's how it's going to maneuver. I just rang up the one person I understand I knew. I was like, let me book my flight to America. Went to America in May. Wrote middle. That was
Wait, what was that? May of 2017, May of 2016.
May 2016.
Yeah.
So in January dropped. Went to New York in April to see my girlfriend who was living there at the time. Wrote middle. Middle was released in October. By December, the song was already like platinum in America, platinum in Australia. And then people from Polydor messaging me like, "Oh my God, can't believe that you've done this. How have you? Oh, it's such a great thing to see that you do so well." I was like, "What? You guys tried to leave me there, man. Now I switched the game up on them, and I could just tell it was just like, it was one of those moments. I was like, I'll always remember like how everyone can pretend to be like for you, then you go and do shit your own self, and then
Arno, though, you're not taking him in, man. He said I went platinum in the US and platinum in Australia. You have to pour a ray for them ones. It's not a joke. You gotta pour a ray for them ones. Listen, that's the real success story there, man. You gotta understand, like, see, like, cause me, I deal with the headspace of, bro, see, working with labels and that, bro, it can make you mentally ill. You've got to understand the stress this puts you under every day. Everyone thinks you become a musician. It's all easy, bro. Like, you know, like the anxiety of never knowing where you stand and all these random people working on your future and all that. See, like when he's saying that to you, you've got to understand, like, see that point. That's the first point of freedom. Not when you get the money and that. You get what I'm saying? Like, see, when we got Banco, I shouldn't really say it, but when we got Banco dropped, yeah, boy, that was the first time he could feel the freedom to really crack on in his career. You get what I'm saying? And not to say that every label situation is bad, because I work with labels now and we have great situations, but sometimes, trust me, man, you need that to get you wings, man, and really actually explore who you are and feel good as a person. And that's when, like, look, that's when you made the best music.
Yo, that's what I'm saying, man. The shit just moved differently from just like, I'm from then I started my own label, started doing great label, and I was like,
so Bipolar, do you think all of that you just mentioned is indefinitely racially fueled?
I wouldn't say all of it's racially fueled. I just do think it does come from the, you know, Semitic racism of sense point of like, why are you as the little artist trying to tell me as the big people?
So it's not why is you as a little black artist, it's why is you as an artist. So if that came from a white male, do you feel like they would have reacted in the same way as it came from a black male? That's the real question.
Ooh. I don't know if it would have. I think it maybe it could have been the same. Maybe it's not the strong point of like, this is exactly a sense of like.
It's always hard to prove, isn't it?
It's hard to prove, but it's also the case of like every single person I was talking to was white.
Yeah, that's why.
Every single person I'm mentioning was white. I wasn't talking to any other person. It was just, and it wasn't the case of like, I feel like when you're talking to certain people, they're like, black people can understand that you can see that this guy is trying to reach for his power, so I'm going to empower that. Whereas the case of, on the other hand, it's like when some white people see that you're reaching for the power, it's like, okay, this guy needs to chill a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And it's that like hand on head boyment. You know what I mean?
Because the way I'm imagining it, and I'm sure everyone else in this chat is imagining, is if you had a black person in that team or in the team at Polydor, most probably they would have been like, listen, let me level with you. The truth would have came out as opposed to the slyness.
You were in there asking like, okay, just tell me what the 411 is, man. Like, let's stop doing this. Like, you know, we'll do it. I don't need shit. Just say what the fuck we need to do and let's go and do it. And when
But
you
don't get it twisted. There's black dons that move just as mad, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's one section to think about, but I feel like there's so many others. There's so many other ways to like to even. I was just kind of thinking of just more of a description of like the empowerment that you need to have, like 3 to 4 times the level of the plan, rather than just like waiting on someone else to come with the plan. And also labels, and it works in different ways and how they maneuver. So some people at the label do get it, and some people at the label don't, as you were saying. So
okay, sweet.
And it's always systematic with racist parts.
Well, that goes on to my next question. What a wonderful segue, Kane, because what a wonderful segue. This is what
Arno, are you going to be a host? Is this? I think that, honest to God, you've done such a good job tonight. Like, you need to have a radio show.
Well, I know. I appreciate. Honestly, I appreciate it. That's something that I'm planning on doing in the future. And don't worry, you will all get your individual invitations to my podcast. So that's what's at number 6. So systematic racism in the UK. Obviously, Feya, if you want to kick off on this one, because like you're the baby of the group. Obviously, when I say you're 21, right?
22.
You're 22. So like you've grown up in a separate generation. On those sheets that you get when you fill out, you're 18 to 25. Like, we fill in different sections. Yes, you fill in a different section to us. So your experience of racism and if it exists, UK systematic racism is totally different from everyone else's. So if you wanna speak on it and your experience of if it exists, if it doesn't exist, then how it exists if it exists.
It definitely exists. So in all institutions, I actually think it exists. I wouldn't say like some people have said that have like more radical views, but I don't think they're radical. I think they're just my views. But in terms of looking back,
why would people think that you have like radical views? What are your views if you want to?
I mean, they're not crazy. I think this is because like I'll just try and explain it. But I really think since like post-colonial times, so my grandparents came from Jamaica as well, so they were part of the British generation, and like so I'm looking back at their experiences too, and I've spoken to them about how they found things when they've been in the UK, and I kind of compare like it with what I deal with today, and not too much has changed. I'd say more on the surface level, it seems like a lot has, but when you actually like look at the institutions and you look at, let's say, education, and there's a lot of petitions right now for like more Black history to be taught, that's the stuff that my parents were also saying that still needs to be that wasn't happening. And when my grandparents came, that still wasn't happening either. So like when you actually look at the root of the institution, nothing much has changed, but that is systemic racism. But like in terms of what I've kind of been able to do with my life and compared to obviously my grandparents, it's a lot more. So I'm not going to say that it doesn't not exist. Definitely does, but I think the allowances that we've had now, like in my generation, are different. So like even I grew up in a white area, so I have quite a lot of white friends. They don't see me as like they're not racist, you know what I mean? They're kind of growing up with me. So compared to people who just saw my grandparents come off like the planes or the boats, I think it's different. I can't explain it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just different time. Yeah.
It's moved forward. It's moved forward a little bit. It's not in the same place. It's still like in the same like maybe mindset, but like certain things have moved forward for you to just be able to do certain things that their generation wouldn't have been able to do without like literally feeling like someone being directly racist to them at that point. But now we don't really like feel like it may be rare that like someone like is like directly.
Well, that's the stance that I've sort of taken. And I've spoken on it with on many conversations within my own social groups, that the UK's systemic racism is exactly how British people are as a culture. So as British people, Great Britain, but a wise man out there decided in the 15s and 1400s to say, okay, we've got a job to spread our greatness and our education to these people all around the world that are what we quantify as barbarians. So let's go into the Africas, let's go into Asia, and let's spread our word of manners, politeness, queuing, everything that is British. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the racism is a part and parcel of that. We have racism with manners, racism with politeness. So the same way where when you meet somebody, you say, "Oh, how are you? How are you doing?" Sometimes it's polite to ask the question. That's why we do it. But genuinely, sometimes you don't give a You get what I'm saying? Sometimes genuinely, it's the same thing with the racism. Oh, we'll include you, but we don't give a about you.
Yeah.
People like our talents, but not our culture and who we are as people.
Yeah.
That we even just look around, like at the sporting industry, the entertainment industry, full of black people, but if you ask them to donate to Black Lives Matter before now, they wouldn't have done so, would they, these organisations?
But society is built exactly how they wanted it to be, because you got to remember, all them things that we just mentioned, the forms of entertainment, because they put us in that sense there to entertain. Obviously, like everything you said then was about culturally getting things from those societies. They didn't go there to spread a message. They went there to take something. In every place you just mentioned, there was an asset in one of them places that was worth taking. And that was the original idea. And at that time, if you go back and look at the documents from what they used to say in Parliament in the 14 and 1500s, is that when they first went to the Africas, they seen people that was richer than they'd ever seen. They seen more cleanliness than they'd ever seen. And the only way they could break the people is by breaking the spirits. They could never beat them in war. You get what I mean? And that's why they got rid of our culture. So this is like, even when I have some debates with some of my close friends, you have to remember, me as a half Jamaican, half Asian man, I don't even know technically where in the world I'm from, because they're both slave colonies. And my two last names are both slave names. So I'm thousands of years departed from my original people. So in taking my self-esteem in that sense of me not knowing my history is the systemic racism that we then suffer every day. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, they don't respect our finger. Because if you went to Jamaica, for example, this is why I keep saying that the prejudice to racism thing are two completely different arguments that people keep blurring into one in this society now. If you go to Jamaica, they tend to not really like Chinese people because they're buying a lot of stuff.
Sorry, what was that, girls?
Where does prejudice come from, though, if it's two completely separate arguments, which I'm hearing, but also, like, where does the prejudice come from if it's not from racism? Where does it originate?
It was demonized. It was, do you know, a lot of the things with demonization. So, like, for example, a lot of people don't know there was black people within the British royal family. That's something that they'll keep away in order to demonize black people. Or that after World War One, when everyone was happy at that time and people didn't care about integration, they then started fueling the message into society that black men were going to be basically demons to white women. And that is one of the first times that racism was fueled in the UK. Before that, they were seen as like people that come over and just helped fight a war.
To what benefit did they do that for?
What did you say, sorry?
To what benefit? Why do you feel like that happened?
Because difference is never seen to be liked. Like, it doesn't matter what culture you look at in the world, different. Like, in Africa, tribes used to war with each other because it was different. Like, difference is threatening. Like, sometimes I feel like black people, because we have been, like, scorned for a long time, it makes us irrational with some issues. But by being irrational, we'll never be able to move forward. Like, rationalizing what's really going on is the best way to move forward. Like, for example, with like these things at the weekend, like Churchill to British people, to a lot of them, is a hero. So trying to pull Churchill down is a pretty irrelevant cause, but then explaining to people why you feel a certain way about Churchill and his views is always going to manifest a lot better. So if they marched on there and marched to get a plaque to put these things on the Churchill plaque and say that he did this towards racism, but he also did this for the British Empire, at least we're fighting for two rights. But
what do we need to do to spark changes and resolve the matters of inequality?
But it's the conversation is so deep, and it's so deep rooted into each sets of societies. First and foremost is just looking at individual self. Like, what can I individually do to support someone individually around me in this community that I could bolster with? Okay, then I've walked into a room and there's like 10 photographers. I've understood that there's only this one black photographer here, not just to go for him because he's a black photographer, but at least check out his shit and make sure that you can give him the even pedestal to be able to create and do his creative work on the same level, and not see it as like, oh, you know what, these I'd rather go with these because these are like, I know these white guys have done this and this and that, and it works in that particular way. And I just feel like more bringing in the community is what's needed, rather than shying away from it. More like, not just, I hate the term of just thinking that you just want to work with a black person just for them being black, not for them actually being good at what they're actually doing. Work with them because you feel that they're great at what they're doing, and excel that, like, talk about that, make that be a thing, and be unashamedable about it.
Yeah. Okay, I sort of get what you're saying. Feya, I did it again. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
You run Blackinfashion, right? I've got the sticker on my laptop as we speak. You've done some posts surrounding supporting black businesses. So
yeah,
obviously taking away with what Bipolar has said about individually supporting black people, what is the consensus around supporting black businesses, and how does it make us look, and what does it do for us as a community?
So Blackinfashion, like the whole point of the platform is just to highlight people within the North who are doing amazing things, who are talented. So from the beginning, like even when I first started the page, I was just shouting out like photographers, designers, stylists, hairstylists, literally everything and anyone who also happen to be black. And I made a point, obviously we're in the north of the UK, we're in Manchester, there's not a lot of black people in the north. The page is called Blackinfashion because we're black, but that's not the only thing that we're about. It's like, if you were kind of a non-black person looking at the page, maybe you'd be like, oh wow, like there's a stylist, there's a photographer, and I want people to be able to see that, like the level of talent that is literally just in the north. And so in terms of the black businesses, I was seeing like kind of during this time specifically a lot of kind of other people, well, I guess in New York and in the States, posting about black businesses. So I thought it'd be a good idea to do it for Manchester business and fashion brands that I'm aware of. And so I just like was researching into it, and I just wanted to make a post about it as well, just to show people like to kind of look at them, and if you want to support them, and also maybe buy from them too, just highlighting what's here.
Hope in Milan, how
Milan.
Jesus.
Really? Wow.
Right,
I'm sorry.
Yes, Milan. Yeah.
I'm really bad. I'm really bad with names and stuff. Well, how do you feel like that stands with, like, as a mixed race person? How does that make you feel? So the concept of supporting only the black community, how does that sit with you guys?
I think it's only right. I think that we should be able to support each other as a community, whichever way we see fit. We spend all our black money on white corporations. Yeah. And surely we've got to divvy that up so that we put more of our time and effort and money into our own hands, into our own community's hands. Yeah. I think it's a very important step to take. I think it's hard to just come out and do it, I think, with the whole of your life. But I think people need to understand that they can make small change all the time, every day, and it'll make a difference. I think it's a bit like my friend is completely like eco-friendly in a house, and like everything's eco-friendly, but she had to do it bit by bit, because if she did it to her whole life immediately, it would it would just take over her life. But like, I think people really need to think about how they are in their money, their black money, the black dollars, the black pounds, where they're putting it and what it's going towards. I saw a really interesting post the other day that said, even black companies with black CEOs, how many of you are banking with a black bank? And things like that. Like, it's very, very important. And we've spent, up until this point, our whole generations have spent the money with white organisations, and there's no problem with us spending our money with black organisations. Even like when the other day I saw that, I think that what's most important is that we do it and we make these conscious decisions, like even, Cantu hair wraps. Like, so basically, you'll know, Feya, because you obviously get your hair done, but like when you go to black hair shops, half the hair is not owned by black people. Like,
sorry, I just got offended real quick, because it's like, say, you just basically said my locks aren't really cutting it.
Well, I mean, you need to check.
Look at bipolar as well. Yeah, I don't know nothing about Cantu.
Cantu my hair this morning, man. I realised it's not even owned by black people. It's confusing.
Yeah, it's confusing. A lot's not.
That's what I'm saying. There's so much that isn't. And if we don't look at like the economy of things, and like just like in order to make the decisions that we all want to be happening, the economy around black people and black businesses needs to be higher. Therefore, then it weeds down to their next generation, who can then get to be able to afford to put their children into certain places, who then get to make the next set of decisions. And that's what it's about. It's about, you got to really breed this
generational.
Arno, do you know I'm a pagan though, innit?
Go on, let's hear the devil's advocate. I was about to ask you the question. No, I was about to ask you.
They say even the devil's advocate, I'm just a bit of a pagan, because you know what it is? I hear you all, and I really fuck with everything you're all saying, yeah? But until West Indian debt's gone, yeah? Until reparations, everything's obsolete. Because at the end of the day, people are not going to just come out of some ghetto track tomorrow, regardless of spending money at black-owned businesses. It's going to make, 3-4% of the black population actually accumulate some wealth. So that's about a 200-year plan. I get it, and it will work, but it's not even a plan that's realistically going to change anything in a quick amount of time. But
what would you do then instead?
If I was in politics now, I'd offer reparations, so I'd give every black-owned family, however it broke down, but probably about 50 grand to make a start at life. If they fucked up, then that's their own fault, but then that's their start at generational wealth. And then from there, I'd also take all the debt from the West Indies. The reason that, like, when people compare black people to Pakistanis, and they say, oh, but Pakistanis come and build shops, and they cracked on because they have land, they have somewhere to send money back to. So as a Pakistani guy, you can actually come here, get a corner shop, for example, with no race. I don't mean it in any racial way, obviously, but obviously we know that's one of the businesses that they go into, and they can send money back to Pakistan. And within 10, 15 years, I've actually started to accumulate an empire from the money that I've been sending back home. As a black person, or as a Jamaican person, as a Asian person, you can't actually do that, because literally in Jamaica's in more debt to Britain than it's actually worth as a country. Do you know that if Jamaica was given back to us tomorrow, we'd still be in 50 times the debt of the worth of the country? Like, people don't understand economic facts like this. And it's like, so you can do the whole, like, oh yeah, like, let's all crack on and shop with each other and try to build.
That's short term, isn't it?
Yeah, you get what I mean?
Real plan needs to be given.
We still need to.
No, we definitely still need to, because it's a start. But like, if we're talking about a solution that's going to end anything that's happening on a systemic level, then these are the things that would have to happen. Like, it can't end from this position of just us being in a fully lost position. We're 500 years behind, literally.
Sorry, Bipolar, I know you're Jamaican, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were saying, you shouting out, ad-libbing, debt in the background. Go on, let's
you can't do the level of debt these countries are under. Like, I know there's certain places in Africa, like the land is so fertile, it should be growing food, but it's just making roses for the Western society to have in the houses. Like, if those type of things stopped and those countries could actually start to support, then that is a situation that whereby obviously reparations is something that should happen. Everyone who's had the position, they've always been given something back. The Jews got something given back. Like, Blackwood didn't get anything given back. And then people
like, sorry to cut you off, Bipolar, but like, obviously you're 22, yeah, I'm 28, yeah. There's been a time in my life, yeah, where I've paid money back through taxes to the British government because my ancestors were in slavery.
I know,
like,
you need that.
300 billion pounds have been paid back, and only
you've got to understand, like, this is a mad society that we actually live in, where like the problems can't just be like, oh, we go shop and try help each other, because they're way deeper rooted than that.
I understand that.
So the point that I was trying to bring up before is that the sheer factor that you said, I'm not a politician, surely that is part of the problem. The fact that you are not a politician, the fact that we have not got more black MPs and representations within the political department is part of the problem. If we had more of our black faces in there, we could be the ones that are making this decision. So when you say it's part of a 200-year plan, Kane, I have to beg to differ, because part and parcel of that 200-year plan is our black future kids are going to be the ones that are going to be in this private school. If we support the businesses, we will generate that wealth, and we will send our kids to those higher levels of education.
And I agree, but if you believe honestly in your heart that there's not a system set up that even if our kids
I can't believe that, bro.
I went to a private school. I went to a private primary school. I went to a grammar school, and then I attend one of the top universities in the world, University of Manchester. I got all A's. You know, my parents set me up to go to do whatever I want to do, but there's still racism.
Sister,
It's not like I'm not up here and I'm not saying anything.
He's in a dream world. Sorry, Arnold, but you're in a dream world where you can do. I think, like, you're talking with a bit of disrespect towards our elders, as if there's not elders that haven't done well and put their kids in a situation where they can do well. That's been happening.
I'm not saying at this point. I'm just saying, like, I'm still aware of all this stuff happening. My parents have still told me from day one I have to work, not even a little bit, 10 times harder. When I was going to get my A-levels, they predicted me all D's on purpose. I was upset, I was crying, I'm not going to go to university. My dad told me, don't listen to them and just work hard. I got all A's. This is what I'm saying, like, it's within education, it's within everything. No matter what school you go to, there's still going to be racism.
Yeah.
Like,
because Arnold, you know what you're discounting from this whole fact here is that we still, like I said to you before, right, here's just a personal account from you now, yeah. Like, my dad, who I consider my dad in the world, is white, and he's like a white, posh-looking dude, yeah. You'd never put us together. Fair enough, but that's because people are